What's up, everybody? Anthony here again. I got some Resistance 3 gameplay, and I'm really happy to post this game again on my channel just because I've put off downloading the patch for it for like 3 months now. And since I'm trying to get back into gaming, trying to get back into my old swing of things and do me some more, I decided why not play Resistance 3. It's a very fun game, and actually as we speak I'm downloading the multiplayer for Killzone 3, so be looking out for some of that gameplay. But guys, while I am hurting right now and I am really upset about what's going on with me, I want to try to switch things up a little bit, and I wanted to talk about something that is really interesting to me, and that's the idea and the concept of the Illuminati or the New World Order, F.E.M.A camps, population control, all that stuff, the rapture. It's always been very interesting to me, and I wanted to talk about that. I wanted to kind of give you guys a breakdown on how I think it would happen if it actually did. The first question you got to ask yourself before watching this is, do you believe everything that you read? Do you believe that everything that is told to you or portrayed to you by the mass media and corporations, do you believe that that's the truth, or do you believe that they could be misleading somehow? And do you believe that there can be an issue with what they're telling you? Maybe they're not telling you the whole story. I'm the type of person that doesn't really necessarily believe everything that they hear. See, I like to look into stuff. I like to be educated and make my own mind up. I'm not saying that I subscribe to any way of thinking, and I'm not saying that one news station is better than another. I'm simply saying that people can be corrupted very easily, especially when money is involved. So you never know what's going on with this country. But basically, I wanted to give you guys a breakdown on if the Illuminati really did exist, if, you know, any of this happened, how it would happen. See, there's these things called the Georgia Guidestones, all right? And they're these massive slabs of stone, and they're inscripted in 8 different languages. They have these guidelines for a healthy planet and in the way of life. And the first thing that really brings me concern from this whole thing is there's the first rule says to keep the population at 500 million to maintain balance with nature. The problem with that is that we have over 6 billion people on this planet as we speak, and the population is growing every day. Granted, there are people that die from cigarettes, from diseases, from starvation, from any other circumstance, war, violence, every day, but it still isn't enough to damage the numbers, because so many babies are being born every day. You know, and it's crazy if you think about it. Every 7 seconds someone dies from a cigarette, you know what I mean? But yet they don't do anything to stop that. And it's gotten me thinking to the point where if that actually was the case, if there was an Illuminati, I would believe it. See, there's these things that they call identification chips, and I'm going to talk about those in a little bit, but what I want to talk about now is F.E.M.A camps. See, I don't really necessarily know if a lot of you are educated in this subject, so I'm just going to give you guys a breakdown on what I know. There was recently a bill passed, and in this bill, one of the articles states about F.E.M.A camps. And see, what it talks about is it talks about the ability for the government to instill martial law in a state of mass panic, see, if it's needed. Now, the only way that it would be needed is if the American public gave that right to the government, and the only way that would happen is if there was a massive panic from some type of mass spread of disease or plague. Now, this is where my whole theory comes into play. Check it out. I'm about to blow your fucking mind. I think they have a cure for all those diseases. All right, I think they have a cure for AIDS. I think they have a cure for cancer. I think they have a cure for lupus or any other disease out there that we're currently being told that we don't have a cure for. I think that they do, because I think the motherfuckers made it. I think the scientists in the laboratories made AIDS. I think they created cancer, and they give the cure to who they want to give the cure to. It just seems a little weird to me that a guy named Irvin Johnson in the 80s can survive from having HIV because he has a big pocketbook and he has potential to be a corporate powerhouse, which he is today. But every other person in the 80s was pretty much assed out. They didn't have access to the cure. By the way, Irvin Johnson, his name that you may know him by is Magic Johnson, for those of you who don't know. And the other thing that really gets me thinking is these F.E.M.A camps. And the other thing that gets me thinking even more is these ID chips, and I'll talk about those in a second. But the F.E.M.A camps, that's a big subject, because I think that there would be a breakout, and after the breakout of whatever disease it would be, it would send everybody into a state of massive shock and pandemonium. Everyone would begin to go crazy and get paranoid, and all the power, because of this fear, it would result in the government having all power. and not being questioned because the government has to do what it has to do to protect the people. That's when the military would take over. I think I just see the military taking over at that point, and martial law being instilled into our nation, which means all rights are gone. There is no privacy. And as it is, every day freedom of speech is being destroyed little by little every day. See, because I have the right to freedom of speech as long as it doesn't offend anybody else, as long as it doesn't hurt someone else's feelings. And it's a double-edged sword, because obviously you want to be polite and you want to be politically correct, but to be quite honest with you, in this world, in this cutthroat world that we live in, sometimes you just gotta say fuck being polite and fuck being politically correct. You have to step on people's feelings sometimes in order to get shit done. And it's unfortunate, because I wish we did live in a world where we could just love each other and live in peace. But that's not the world that we live in right now. All we can do is work towards that. But back on topic though, after the outbreak and they get people into these camps and the population gets dwindled down to the number that they would want it to, I think they would install these ID chips. Now they're called Vera chips, and I'll leave a link to all this stuff in the description. You guys can read up on it because it's really interesting. These Vera chips would be installed beneath the skin. They're easily installed, and they would have like 16-digit codes in them. And I've read up on these things. They have 16-digit codes in them, and they're used for identification purposes, for tracking, all these things. And you may be thinking, well, that's kind of far-fetched, dude. Well, do you have a cell phone? And do you have a passport? Because if you have those, you're already being tracked by satellite. It's not too crazy now, is it? You ever seen the movie Gattaca? We're not that far off from that. And that's what really kind of scares me sometimes and makes me wonder at the same time. And that's what makes me think, like, if shit really did go down, if all hell really did break loose, would you take the mark of the beast? Or would you be a rebel? Because I know what I would do. You see, I wouldn't take that mark. I wouldn't take that chip. I'd stand up, and I'd be different. I would shock the system. I'd be a revolutionary. Because to me, bowing down and staying alive is much worse than standing and dying. That's really all I gotta say on the matter. It's all in good fun, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. And of course, I'm not an expert at any of this. Just enjoy it. Peace.